You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Let's discover hardcover month, but this enough so you can know what's up in the hood.
Welcome to today's podcast. I am Ny'Jari, Wright,
I'm George.
and we are part of Hardcover. Today we'll be discussing a couple topics going on in today's world. First, starting with AI, moving on to immigration, National Guard, ICE, and the pressures within living in society today for youth. So, George, what's your impression of the AI and all that?
I don't really like AI because I feel like it's making people dumber and it's also wasting a lot of resources.
I'm actually kind of the opposite. I agree with the whole resources and all that stuff being used up in order for it to, continue functioning and all that. But from a creative standpoint, I feel like AI is a good assistance when it comes to helping with like writer's block or like procrastination when it comes to like actually getting in the drive to like do your creative whatever it is from experience myself with the whole writer's block and everything. I actually find Chat GPT to be really helpful getting me out of that headspace and giving me ideas to like feed off of and get a head start on something. But with the resources and all that being used, I do think that that's a little excessive, and something can possibly be found. A way could be found to like save those, those extreme whatnots and keep it there at the same time.
I don't know because the average AI search uses like 10 times more electricity than the average Google search.
Oh, well, I've probably used them quite a
Yeah.
lot.
And there's a lot of people you can't have a conversation with Google, but you can have a conversation with ChatGPT. So
I can see that, yeah.
yeah, there's so much more electricity being consumed. And going back to the point of writer's block, I feel like that way, you could say it would make you not lose intelligence, but the way I see it being used, amongst my peers, people just use it to get answers. They don't bother studying or doing their assignments. They just plug it into ChatGPT.
Well, yeah, that's definitely an issue. I agree, though. If we, depend too much on something that gives us, answers straight away, it affects our need or like our ability to go out and get it ourselves, which is kind of like similar with like Uber Eats and stuff like that. A lot of people cut back on cooking or having family meals because now they could just order their favorite restaurant straight to the door and whatnot. So I do agree with you there. Um, do you see it improving at all or
No,
declining entirely?
I just see it declining because, unless there's regulation somehow put on AI where you can ask it certain questions, but you can't ask it homework answers, which would be nearly impossible or just straight up impossible to do, then there's no way it's gonna improve. Everyone's just gonna keep on using it to get answers, using more electricity and water. Because the way AI data centers work, they have to use fresh water. They can't use ocean water or whatever, so it takes away fresh water from living beings like humans.
Oh, absolutely.
And cities near AI data centers sometimes have to have electricity shutdowns for several hours each week just so that they can keep the AI data center running.
I didn't know that actually. That's kind of selfish to do. Um, I would hope that it gets better. Um, like I said, I can only speak from like a creative standpoint. From a creative standpoint, I think it's very useful. But as like a economical standpoint, like you said, some regulations should definitely be in place to make sure that it doesn't affect everyone negatively in the long run. But so, as you know, Trump has been stating the necessity to deploy the National Guard to Chicago. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a stupid decision. Like, I've lived in Chicago my whole life. I've never like truly felt like my life was at risk. Whether it's like walking in downtown, taking public transportation, I've never felt like I was gonna like die or get seriously injured.
Same here. Um, I've obviously Chicago is known for the violence it can emit, but I would say it's not to the extent where we have to send National Guard forces to the city to like just stand around and intimidate. I don't think that's entirely necessary. Uh, the idea of like controlling and limiting crime is a good one to have, especially with his streak of like things he wants to take care of or address while he's in office, like changing the name of like the Gulf and stuff like that, and like the remodeling or like that. I don't know how true it is, but he wanted to put like a ballroom in the like.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so like being on par with like controlling crime, that's I feel like something a president should definitely be concerned about. But the way he's doing it with this, exactly, I feel like it's more just bait for more drama and chaos.
I feel like if anything, bringing the National Guard in will like increase the amount of violence in Chicago because the National Guard employed by Trump is known to like use excess force,
Mm-hmm.
like more than what's required, and since they use more force, people are more likely to respond violently. So I feel like Trump wants to be able to use that as like an excuse to say this is why we needed the National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just going to create this cycle of him like imposing more control over Chicago, and it's just going to keep on going and going.
Do you think that it is? Do you think he has an idea of how many cities he wants to do this for? He already did Washington D.C., Chicago. Like, do you think he's going to continue until all 50 states or whatnot are controlled, or just like the major ones like Washington D.C., Chicago, New York, for such?
Yeah, I think that he wants to like control the major democratic cities where the state legislators and like the mayors and stuff are opposing him and not letting any of his laws go through
Mm-hmm.
because Trump shut down the LGBTQ suicide hotline in America, but JB Pritzker, he like created one for Illinois citizens, and that's like directly going against him, which Trump is like a very controlling person. That kind of triggered him, so now he wants to like try to show that he can control Chicago and control JB's state.
So, what's something that like we can, or some ideas you have to combat against this ordeal? Like, we know they could be coming, or with how things are going, they are coming. How should someone who encounters them, or put it into this instance? You said that they use excessive force. That puts me in the mind of police brutality. So them coming out here, let's say that something along the lines of that happening, like George Floyd or anybody else, for example. How should someone respond to that? This is the National Guard, not police. It's already hard enough to handle the police. So like, what would we do?
Honestly, I'm not sure. Like, because already, if the police are using excessive force on you, there's not much you can do. And like you said, the National Guard is like a step higher.
Mm-hmm.
And lately, like a lot of agents like military agents under Trump have been concealing themselves, not showing any form of like identification. Like with police officers, at least, you'll know, like, because you see them wearing their police uniform, but with like this National Guard and these ICE agents, they could just be wearing civilian clothes, and you'll not know whether you're like, whether they're federal agents or just like random people
Right.
attacking you.
That's scary. That's really scary. And then I didn't know that either, that they could be just in like regular civilian clothes. Because my next question was gonna be like if they possibly had like body cams on them or something like that.
Most
Just
don't.
right. So that's another red flag with all that. It just the whole thing. Like when I first heard about it, when they were going out to Washington, I knew. Well, I suspected that it was just like this is obviously just something for him to want to get publicity from and make a scene that doesn't really need to be made, in my opinion. Here's my current understanding. Um, ICE has been put in place to basically locate and deport um, immigrants back to their homeland, but it's being done in a very chaotic way. From my that's kind of it was expected. Nothing that I just feel like nothing that serious was going to be taken that serious by the higher ups. It was whatever way we can get it done fast and most effectively. I have seen the commercials on television though. That took me by surprise. That they're going that far to like get people to like either like turn themselves in or just to push out the awareness of it. But like I don't know, it seems kind of like I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know how I would feel seeing someone of my background telling me to like download this app, turn myself in, and then they give them these promises that we all know ain't go
Mm-hmm.
they ain't finna hook you up with a living space in your country if they can't even do that here for the people who live in this country. You know, it's like that's I feel like that's so foul.
You basically like hit the nail on the head with
Oh,
what you were
okay.
saying.
Okay.
So, at the start, you said that the way they were doing it wasn't wasn't humane, which
Mm-mm.
um, every person on the U.S. like on U.S. soil is guaranteed by the Constitution, regardless of like citizenship or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're guaranteed the right to due process,
Mm-hmm.
and like the way this administration has been handling it with alligator Alcatraz, for example, that's just like against the Constitution, which is anti-American in and of itself. There's commercials from both sides coming up right now. Like you said, they're like convincing people to turn themselves in, but yeah, like convincing people to turn themselves in, but they're not gonna fulfill any of the promises, and
No.
like they're just gonna put them packed onto the flights like how they did when they tried to send them into Mexico, but the president of Mexico like refused to accept the plane, so everyone had to get sent back, and it was like a huge waste of taxpayer dollars. Like they're not only treating these people inhumanely and like animals, they're also like wasting our taxes, and just it's overall really inefficient. And one important thing about the US is like everything in the US, whether it's like our agriculture, our healthcare, and anything else is propped up by illegal immigrants, because um, illegal immigrants make up like a huge majority. I think over like 90% of people who work in fields, like the ones who pick the crops and
Mm-hmm.
are able to actually get us the food that we like fruits and vegetables that we eat.
Consume. Right.
Yeah. And our healthcare system is propped up by illegal immigrants because they pay into it more than they receive, because they don't have insurance or anything else. So they like overpay for everything, which helps. Like even though we still have to pay a lot, we don't have to pay as much, and they pay everything up front. And overall, like, our country is just propped up by immigrants, and a lot of the people Trump is arresting haven't even like done anything wrong. I have a friend, her mother came into this country, and then she got married, but her husband like didn't really let her connect with anyone. So she never got citizenship, and she was applying for it under the Biden-Harris administration. But then the pathway that she was using got taken down by the Trump administration. And now she, like, most of her days are spent just sitting at home, like, not being able to leave because she's scared that the like ICE officers who can't who don't identify themselves are just gonna take her away, and she's never gonna see her daughter again.
Yeah, that's very terrifying. When the whole like idea of deporting immigrants back even came about, doing so in the most humane way should have been the most talked about discussion amongst the higher ups. I feel um, like there's no way parents should be separated from children, or vice versa, or families separated entirely to pursue something that really only benefits the, because it doesn't. How, would you say it benefits the economy? Because we're
Not even.
taking people out of the like. It's the people that make the economy. So if we're taking people out, what's going to be left outside of what we already have? But I don't know. I feel like new things create new. That sounds so dumb. New things create new things.
But I get what you mean. Like,
Yeah, you know, like when you get new cultures introduced into a area, that's you learn so much. There's yeah, I'm gonna just leave it at that. My perspective. Okay, pressures of everything that was going on, and with um, like the stuff that we have in our daily lives. So everything we basically touch bases on is like I would say political, and more so like that's above us, like something we can't really do anything about aside from complain and hope that our complaining is heard, our complaints are heard. But as far as like pressures in the daily life, work, school, relationships, friend or otherwise, yeah, you get the picture.
Yeah.
You get the picture. But how would you say your experience coming from someone who's still in school? How does, with everything going on, plus what you go through in your personal life, how would you say those pressures, or how you're handling those pressures?
Honestly, I feel like nowadays school is a lot more overwhelming than it was before, as like it's become 10 times more competitive. Um, it's like standard now for people to take at least 2 AP classes per year. Usually, like at my school, people's junior year they take 3, senior year they take 4, and I'm taking 3 right now, and I'm a junior, so I'm like average. But that like since the AP system has been introduced, that has not been the norm. And it's just like so overwhelming with all the work and all the stuff you have to memorize and learn how to apply. It just like kind of gets to you. It's too competitive now. What about you, as someone who like has graduated high school? How is it for you?
Um, Coming out of high school, you either go to school, work, or you doing your own little thing. I took the going to school route for like the first half year of me being out of high school, and that was Well, it wasn't the usual experience. Like I didn't get to experience going to a dorm or moving into a dorm and all that extra. I did my classes online, and my what I was going to school for was film. So I kind of screwed myself over with that because what I was going to school for was something that should be taught hands on. And me knowing myself, I am a very hands on individual when it comes to learning. So definitely feel as though I did not start myself off on the right foot coming out of high school. And because of that, partially I feel that is why I am in certain predicaments that I am at the age of 21 now. Um, Not saying at all that I think going to college would have saved me from what I am going through. But it definitely would have given me that protective bubble, I feel. That bubble of not needing to be an adult just yet. I'm trying to say this respectfully because I do. Every time I talk about this, I'm just gonna say it. Every time I talk about this, I feel like I'm bashing people that do go to college, but that's entirely not what I'm doing. If you do go that route, any route you go throughout life, cool. Like, don't let nobody bash you for what route you take. But if you recognize that the route that you took is messed up, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. Okay. With that out the way, though, I feel like, all right, you can recognize you done wrong. Keep going, though. All right. So, like, I'm only speak from my experience right now. Since I didn't finish my film school, what I did instead was make sure that I was doing something that involved film or something that was related, just so that this time that I spent afterwards or following that wasn't spent, lollygagging and whatnot. So that's why I work here at CTVN. So, I come here. And I also do freelance photography and videography and stuff like that. And I also do my creative writing, stop motion animating, all that. Because if I didn't, I would basically I ain't gonna lie, I would feel like a failure because that's something I really wanted to do. And I didn't finish it. And for me to completely turn my back on it, that sounds like a failure to me. Or that registers as a failure to me in my head. But, yeah. From graduating high school to now, literally what I've learned is keep going. That's the best thing you could do for real.
I think it's good that you're like able to continue pushing forward and recognize that even though you've made mistakes, you're still pursuing like what you love. And I think that, like you said, it is important for people nowadays to hear because a lot of people just go into fields that are miserable for them just because they like see that check when I think that there's always some way that people could find something that they even moderately enjoy and be able to like live off of that.
Another thing I want to add to with what you just said, a lot of people go into these fields because of expectations that they feel like they have to meet. Like in this world right now, it's so hard to like afford rent, pay for groceries, maintain a personal life off of one paycheck. So that's why you got people going for jobs that are in the medical field, construction, blue collar jobs. Usually people look down at people for blue collar jobs, but now it's like if you got something that's paying you 25 and up, that's cool because that's something that can get you through. Now, if you're making anything less than that, you're going to have to find another gig. You're going to have to do, like me, freelance. Like, you can't thrive off of making $1,300 on your paycheck. That ain't going to work. That ain't going to work at all in today's world. And I'm not sure if being I hear that like the economy was a lot different from like our parents, my parent, because she's from a different era. But like I hear stuff like how rent back then was hundreds of dollars, or just barely 1,000 or whatnot. For they're talking about apartments. I'm not gonna talk about houses because I ain't gonna lie, I'm not too experienced when it comes to that. But even with houses, it was a lot cheaper back then than it is now. But yeah, just it's really hard. And my focus, something I actually really been wanting to do is bring certain awareness to stuff like this, so that youths like you, when you graduate and stuff like that, my cousins, my little sister and stuff, such, y'all have that idea that it ain't finna be easy when y'all get out. So you take it as seriously as you can while you in there. Prepare yourself as much as you can. Like literally, plan out A through Z plans, not A B C, A through Z. And if you're gonna need them, you really are. And if you feel like you're not, it's still good to have because you never know. Life is so unpredictable. You wake up one day and everything you thought was ain't. And yeah, me personally, I want to help people avoid all that. That's something I personally strive to do. So, how do you think that went, George?
I think that went great. Like, I think we brought awareness and talked about a lot of important stuff.
Absolutely, as we do here at Hardcover. So we hope you enjoyed today's video. Stay aware, play fair, and have a good one.